Good afternoon. This is Teresa McKee, your NVAR CEO, and I'm here today with our Government Affairs team, as well as our legal counsel, Thorin Towler. Welcome to the Nevada Association of Realtors Question 3 Teletown Hall. Let me tell you now how this Teletown Hall conference will work. If you would like to ask a question at any time during the call, please press 0 on your phone keypad, and you will be transferred to one of our screeners. They will summarize your question, and you will be put in the queue until it's your turn to ask your question live on the call. If you get disconnected at any time, you can dial back on our toll-free number, which is 1-855-756-7520, extension 26763. Again, that number is 1-855-756-7520, extension 26763. First, I'd like to tell you who else is on the call with me to give you an update and answer your questions. I am Teresa McKee, the CEO for the Nevada Association of Realtors, and also on the line is our legal counsel, Thorin Towler. Also on the line from our contract lobbying firm and legislative partner, Carrera Nevada, we have Rocky Finseth, our chief lobbyist for Carrera Nevada, along with Jenny Reese and Joe Bresney. Jenny Reese is our Director of Public Policy and Government Affairs, and Joe Bresney is the Director of Political Operations. Now that we have quite a few of you on the phone, I'd like to ask you a quick question. Before today, had you heard about Question 3, also referred to as the Education Initiative or the Margin Tax Initiative? Please press 1 for yes and 2 for no. Again, if you had heard of Question 3 before today, please press 1 on your phone keypad. If you had not heard about it, please press 2. Okay, we're ready to get started. As soon as I read the antitrust statement, the attorneys will let us move on, so here it goes. State and federal laws prohibit the exchange of information among competitors regarding matters pertaining to price, refusal to deal, market division, tying relationships, and other topics which might infringe upon antitrust regulations, and that no such exchange or discussion will be tolerated during this meeting. And we will now close the poll. Okay, so it's nice to see that at least 78% of our members on this call have heard about Question 3 already. That's great. Now let me ask you this. If you were going to vote today, would you vote yes or no on Question 3? Again, please go to your keypad on your phone and press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're unsure. And I'll repeat the question. If you were to vote today, would you vote yes or no on Question 3? Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you are unsure. And while we're waiting for those results, without further ado, let me give the floor to Jenny Reese, who will give us a general overview of Question 3, why the association is opposed to it, and what the Coalition to Defeat the Margin Tax Initiative has been doing.
Thank you, Teresa. So, Question 3 is an initiative petition that was brought forward by the teachers union in 2012. They collected enough signatures to get the question on the ballot for the 2014 election. They've tried multiple times to get different types of funding for education, starting with sales tax on services, which died during the legislature, a gross receipts tax, which died during the legislature, net profits tax, which died in front of the legislature. And the reason that they keep dying in front of the legislature is because it takes a 2/3 approval to get any kind of tax increase passed, where a ballot question only requires 50% plus 1 vote. So what does Question 3 say? Question 3 imposes a 2% tax on business entities called a margin tax, but really it's a tax on your gross receipts. It exempts, well, it's not really an exemption. There's a $1 million threshold for the first $1 million. So if you make $1 million or less, you won't be subject to the tax, but if you do make $1 million and 1 cent, then you will pay 2% tax on that full $1 million and 1 cent. It does permit some pass-through revenue, but not everything is considered pass-through revenue. You have to look at the margin of what is lesser to calculate the tax. So you've got 70% of your total revenue, or you can look at your total revenue minus cost of goods sold. Since you are realtors and you sell houses, the cost of goods sold does not apply to you, or any compensation that you've paid out to your employees, but no more than $300,000 per employee. So if the employee makes $50,000, you can only deduct that $50,000, not the full $300,000. Revenue from the tax will be deposited into the distributive school account and dispersed to all schools in the state of Nevada. And if this passes, then it takes effect January 1st, 2015. So what the proponents are saying is that we're 49th in per pupil spending, and we have the lowest corporate income taxes, and that's why they're pursuing this. What the opponents are saying is that this is deeply flawed. Not all money is going to education. What happens is they expect that the legislature will supplant the money. So that means that even though the money is deposited into the distributive school account, they may not need to add additional funding to the DSA. So that money may go to things like mental health or public safety or various issues that are plaguing the state of Nevada right now. There's no guarantee that this tax, again, will go to education. There's no plan or accountability, and it would make Nevada's businesses taxed amongst one of the highest in the entire nation. So what's going on with the realtors and how it's going to impact all of you? Each situation is going to be different based off of your business model and your arrangements with your brokers. We expect brokerages to be hit hard, but that will vary based on the various business models. And we also believe the agents will be hit hard. So if your broker grosses over $1 million, they'll be hit at the brokerage level. And then if you're a team or you gross over $1 million, you could potentially be hit at the next level. The expected burden on real estate is anticipated to be about $70 million annually, and that would be 7.1% of the total tax liability in the state. If you look at different different brokerages, their models are going to vary in what the tax burden is going to be. It's ranging from about 11%, where we've seen some hit as high as 80%. And again, that's on their gross revenue, so if there is no profit, then you still may have to pay that tax. So polling data on question 3 initially showed that it's passing. When you ask the question how it's asked on the ballot, it's showing that a lot of people are supportive of funding education, but then when you educate everyone on this tax, that shifts significantly. So what your association is doing to try and help that is your association took a position in opposition to question 3. We have decided to join the coalition to defeat the margin tax. We expect we have prepared an aggressive campaign, and we have a lot of outreach going out to the members. The realtors have formed a ballot advisory group called Realtors Against Question 3, where they are going out and they are advocating against the margin tax. And you have funded it from the state, national, and every local association to get that message out to the voters in Nevada. What you can do to help us is you need to be able to go to the polls and make sure that you vote against this. It's extremely important. If this passes, we do expect litigation to ensue, but if no one sues on this, then the Department of Taxation will start to prepare the regulations, which could take multiple months. And regardless of this impact, the legislature cannot change this margin tax for 3 years if it passes. We're in session every 2 years, so we anticipate that they could not change it unless they called a special session until 2019. So that's a long time. So we just encourage all of you to get out to the polls to vote against question 3. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Teresa.
Thank you, Jenny. I just wanted to remind everyone that any time during the call, you can press 0 on your phone to be connected to one of our screeners. They will write down a summary of your question for us, and you'll be able to listen in to the rest of the call until it's your turn to ask your question live on the call, similar to how it works when you call in on a radio show. We're now going to move on to Joe Bresney, who will tell us more about what the association has been doing to defeat this terrible tax. Joe?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I've got a kind of a rapid-fire report on everything that the association has been doing to fight this and make sure that we beat it back. Just to give a quick background, every local association in the state has contributed to beating this. The state association has contributed to beating this, and the national association has contributed to beating this. So it's the first issue I know of where it's been a clean sweep on the call to arms to fight something. So starting off with everything that NAR helped us with, they have a suite of campaign services that they provide, and they have vendors that they bring to the table, and they help with the funding on that. And so one of the things that they helped provide for us this year was online advertising. That's those Facebook ads that you see, the suggested posts, and that a lot of you will see in your Facebook feed. With the advertising that we purchased, we've had 4.6 million impressions, which last time I saw a comparison, we were running about double what the coalition campaign has done with their efforts. So Realtors Against Question 3, the ads that we've run on Facebook have yielded 4.6 million impressions, 14,556 clicks. That's a 0.31 click-through rate, 497,640 plays of the video explaining our position on Question 3. 323,790 of those videos were played through to completion. So about 2/3 of the people who start watching the video watch the whole video the whole way to completion. I mean, this is a political ad, so that's an amazing completion rate. Then we've got 477 Facebook likes for our page opposing this. Then NAR also helped us. Overall, the campaign, Realtors Against Question 3, has sent out 1 million pieces of direct mail. We have 4 rounds of direct mail to Realtors. NAR paid for that. And then they also profiled a target universe of college-educated and non-college educated women that they felt were persuadable from the research they'd done on the issue. They found 94,000 of them and sent 3 pieces of mail to them. And then outside of that, we had 3 other target universes. I don't want to bore everyone and have their eyes glaze over, but we had a few other target universes where we found people that responded to a specific message on why the margins tax was bad, and then we communicated that message to them in a manner that we're reasonably sure will work in getting them to oppose Question 3 and to get to the polls to vote against it. So on top of the direct mail, there's more. We also did 23,000 in-person interviews where we paid an interviewer to go to the door and collect information on whether or not someone supported or opposed Question 3, and then also why, so that we know specific reasons why specific people oppose this. And then also 2,500 live phone calls going out to our members, encouraging them to vote. And then Isabel from our team has also been the author of and has helped with 5 rounds of email. I know that you guys get a lot of email as it is, but you should have 5 rounds of email coming through that talk about Question 3, why we are opposing it, and how you can help. So that is the campaign. That is the entire campaign that we've been doing. We're on track to finish. We're in get out the vote mode right now, and just encouraging everyone, just backing up what Jenny said, encouraging everyone to get to the polls and vote no on Question 3. And that is my report.
Thank you, Joe. Again, please don't hesitate to press 0 at any time during this call to be put in our questions queue. I want to remind you that if you get disconnected, you might want to write down this number. You can dial back in on our toll-free number, 1-855-756-7520, extension 26763. So we're going to take our first question now. This question is from Gregory Horodisky. So if we can get him on the line.
Yeah, I'm here. Actually, you explained the answer to my question. I was trying to figure out the amount of who would be taxed and who wouldn't be, but you had stated there would be $1 million or more on the gross revenue.
Correct. Jenny, do you want to just explain that one more time?
Yes, so there's $1 million threshold. If you make or gross over $1 million, then you are subject to the tax on that full $1 million plus whatever you make in addition to that amount.
So thank you for calling in. I hope this was useful, and I hope you stay on the line to hear the rest of the presentation. And so the next call is from Michael in Henderson. And do we have Michael on the line?
Yeah, I'm on the line. Thank you for taking my call. Yeah, I just wanted to get a clarification on the gross revenue. If you're talking about not gross volume dollars, but gross revenue to the firm, which would include commissions, correct? But in addition to commissions, you might, like in the case of an REO broker, you might also have pass-through reimbursement that's categorized as income and revenue as far as, your accounting is concerned. And that could be an amount in excess of the commissions even. So how are they going to calculate that?
Thank you, Michael. That's a really good question. And it's a really good question because this initiative doesn't really address what all should be included in that. They do have some language about pass-through, but it is not sufficiently set forth to make those kinds of calls right now about what would and would not be included in your gross revenue. That's part of the problem. So, we can, even just thinking that it's just on the commission portion, the actual income to your firm, and not the pass-through revenue, that's bad enough. But when you consider that what the tax department might consider pass-through revenue and what it might not, and just the process that they would have to go through to define all the different types of pass-through revenue and make all of those determinations, the regulations could take a long time to create. And in the meantime, you might have to pay the tax on all of that just to be safe. So that's a very good question. That's part of why this is a poorly drafted initiative petition. So do you have any follow-up to that? Okay, we may have lost him. So the next call is Clay from Reno. Do you have Clay on the phone?
Hi, Clay Alder here. Thanks for taking the call. I was wondering who the author of this text was and why they took this route. It seems fairly convoluted to get it on a bill such as this. Any comments?
Thank you, Clay. This is Jenny. The Nevada Education Association, which is the teachers union, took it upon themselves to take a draft copy of what the AFL-CIO had originally had a few years ago and altered it significantly. They had hired an outside attorney to draft it, and then when you draft an initiative petition and you qualify it for the ballot, you can't go in and change it. So whatever they've drafted is what it's going to say on the petition, and if it passes, it'll be law for the next 3 years. The legislature can't change it. So they did hire an attorney to draft it. Thank you, Clay.
So I wanted to remind you that if any of you have questions, please don't hesitate to press 0 at any time, and you'll be put onto the questions queue. And again, if you get disconnected and want to rejoin, the number is 855-756-7520, and that's extension 26763. Our next caller with a question is Bruce from Las Vegas. Can we get Bruce on the line?
Hi, I'm here. I was wondering if, in the case of a team working under a broker, the commission is adding up to more than $1 million. Does that not also add up on the broker side as well as the team side, representing an illegal double taxation situation?
Bruce, thank you for your question. This is Jenny. Yes, that would be double taxation, and that's one of the issues that we have with the way that this is drafted. So it would be taxed at the brokerage level and then also at the agent level. And if you're a team grossing over $1 million, you are subject to the tax.
So thank you. We're getting a lot of great questions. The next question we have is from Dusty in Reno. Can we get Dusty on the phone?
Hi, this is Dusty.
Hi, go ahead and ask your question.
My question was maybe somewhat answered by the last question. My question was, I understand that there are two exemptions. One is for cost of goods sold and one is for wages. So my question would be, if a brokerage, real estate brokerage, grossed $5 million in gross revenues over the year, are they able to write off the commissions that they pay to their agents so that they would be under the $1 million?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to have Joe answer this question. Oh, no, Jenny, sorry.
So what will happen is you can deduct either, there's three different ways to calculate the tax. You can look at 70% of your gross revenue, which may be the least amount out of the three options. You can look at cost of goods sold. You don't have cost of goods sold, so you cannot use that. Or you can look at any compensation that is paid to an employee. And I think it does specify employee, and that's up to $300,000 for their salaries. So that can be calculated. So you take whatever the least amount of those three options are to calculate the tax on that revenue.
Okay, so that's a very good question. Thank you. There is a huge difference between having an employee and the agents working as independent contractors for the broker. So we have another call. We're going to take Alicia from Las Vegas. Do we have Alicia on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. I wanted to know, have you guys done any polling, and what do you think the likeliness of this bill passing actually is?
Great. We're going to send that question to Joe Bresney, and he can tackle that answer for us. Joe?
Hi, Alicia. The early reporting that we had on this, the early polling that we got back, surprised a lot of people because we were losing. We were losing by about 8 points. Going into the early voting, we had narrowed that gap to below 4 points. And then at that point, it becomes a question of who is showing up this year. Is this the normal, traditional turnout pool that is being reflected in the polls, or are we able to drive turnout and determine who is showing up to try and move things our way and beat the polls? And so that's the point that we're at now. We went into early voting around 3 points behind, so if the election were held that day, this would pass. But the encouraging thing is that since early voting has started, when we look at the people that are showing up to the polls, it looks like we're going to flip that and win by a hair. This is going to be so close that we need all of you to vote. If possible, vote early. Even I know a lot of people hate voting early because Election Day voting is their tradition. But if you've never voted before, this is a great time to try it. And if you vote on Election Day, I'd hate to see you get a cold or something and miss it. So if there's any way you can vote early and just bank that Realtor vote against question 3, I really think that every vote is going to matter. So to summarize it, we were down 8 points. We closed it to 3 points, and now it's a game of can we make sure that turnout goes our way, and we're good at that. So that's why we're doing things like this. So please vote. Please vote early. and we should be able to pull this off by a hair.
Good. Thank you for that information, Joe. That's encouraging. Again, if you want to ask a question, press 0 at any time during the call, and you'll be put on the questions queue. And if you get disconnected, you can call back in at 855-756-7520, extension 26763. Our next call is Rich in Las Vegas. We have Rich on the line.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if this is a question, but it's kind of an opinion, and I hope you guys can maybe respond to it. I'm a little bit astonished about, the talk about, not wanting to fund education, and I understand a lot of the details behind it. My wife is a teacher. She makes about $31,000 a year. Works full time, works at night, works on weekends, grading papers. She has about, I'd say, 35 to 40 kids in her class. On top of that, she has about 1 to 2 special needs kids with Down syndrome. My wife is not a special needs teacher. Has no certification whatsoever, but there's no money whatsoever for the special needs kids. So each teacher gets 1 or 2. And so it's very disruptive sometimes in her classrooms. I know she comes home, she cries about it. There's a lot of issues she deals with. There are no school supplies. My wife, on a monthly basis, spends between $50 to $200 in school supplies on her own. She begs every year to parents and, oh, would you please bring me pad of paper, pencils. The parents are so broke these days. There's no money. They're not going to bring anything. So no parents supply any school supplies. So here's my wife with a classroom of 35 to 40 kids, a couple special needs kids in her class. No school supplies, makes about $31,000 a year, puts in well over 60 hours a work week. I just can't believe that we don't want to help education out. Why are we so against education? A lot of other countries want to put money into education, and they're thriving in technology. It just amazes me. But of course, I don't know a lot of the details behind it. But I live with a teacher. I watch this. I see this happening. I see her crying at night. It's just unbearable.
Rich. I'm going to let Jenny answer your question so we can get to some more of the questions. So go ahead, Jenny.
Rich, we are sympathetic to the schools and the teachers and education, and the fact that there does need to be additional resources put towards education. Our position on the margin tax is that this is not the proper way to go about funding education. It doesn't put additional money towards education. What it does is you put money into the DSA, and then the legislature at that point could say, we're going to use the money that we would put into the distributive school account and allocate it elsewhere. If this does fail, we do anticipate that the legislature will look at other taxes in an effort to fund the education system in Nevada. No one here is saying that we're against education, we're against teachers, we're against the initiative petition process in implementing a tax that could put a lot of businesses at risk in the state of Nevada. But the realtors are for education, and they will look at the different policies that come out during the legislature, assuming the margins tax fails.
Okay, and so Rocky, did you want to add something onto that as well?
I do, Teresa. Thank you very much. This is Rocky Finseth. I'm the chief lobbyist for the association. Rich, my wife is a teacher, so I'm very sympathetic to the teaching profession, the struggle that educators put into their work profession, and the struggle from a purely family standpoint that is struggle and sacrifice that's involved. I have to tell you, though, as an educator, even she understands that this is not the answer. This is a fundamentally flawed proposal because it creates too many unintended consequences assorted with its implementation from a purely from a business standpoint. And Jenny more specifically has mentioned just setting public policy through the ballot box is really not the answer. And moreover, she has mentioned that I think the legislature and Governor Sandoval is committed to fix this problem during the 2015 session, as long as this proposal falls at the ballot box. So my expectation as a spouse of an educator is that the 2015 legislature will resolve this problem purely from a funding standpoint. We've also not touched on funding formulas, which is a totally different conversation and a much more complex issue. But that is also causing some of the disparity, particularly I believe you're calling from Las Vegas, and that is also causing some of the disparity for our educators. So very sympathetic to your issue. I personally deal with it, but I think in a larger scheme, in the larger picture, this is not the answer. Thanks, Teresa.
Thanks, Rocky. That was a good explanation. I want to remind the people on the call that if you do have a question, please press 0 at any time during the call. We do have lots of questions lined up, and I wanted to let you know if for some reason we don't get to your question, you can remain on the line until the very end, and you will be transferred to a voicemail box, and somebody will get back to you and answer your question. But right now, let's see. We have Joseph from Henderson. Can we get Joseph on the line?
Yes. My question is related, again, to the type of income. And we do quite a bit of property management, collect a lot of rent every month, but most of that is passed through. So that's what I'm worried about.
Joseph, this is Jenny. So rent is not considered income. That is exempt in the initiative petition, but any property management fee that you collect for managing that property could be subject to the tax. Thank you very much for your question.
Okay, and again, if you have a question, please press 0 at any time during the call, and you'll be put in the questions queue. We have the next question comes from Claudia in Reno. Claudia, are you there?
Yes, hi. Hey, I was just wondering, when this proposed tax was put on the ballot, what financial evaluation was completed prior, especially based on the fact that Washoe County and Clark County held the #1 position as the hardest hit state in the nation?
Thanks, Claudia. Jenny?
So I don't think they looked at how the tax would impact business. That didn't come until about January, February of this year. Now that it has qualified and will be on the ballot, there's been a lot of research done, and I think at this point, the educators, what they're looking for is just additional revenue for the school districts to help fund education.
Thanks, Jenny. Rocky, did you have something to add there?
I did. Claudia, a good question, and it fundamentally points out the problem with the initiative petition process in the state of Nevada. While the process itself is very rigorous, you need to collect, I believe, over 100,000 signatures in all 17 counties. There is no financial reporting test or business impact statement associated with placement of the petition itself. So, as Jenny has mentioned, much of the analysis has taken place after the petition itself has qualified for the 2014 ballot, and thus the citations, whether you're looking at Jeremy Aguero, who's a noted economist here in Southern Nevada, or John Restrepo, another noted economist in Nevada, both have deemed the impact on real estate, if the question passes, is extremely draconian, and I applaud the association for trying to get the word out to its members as to why a no vote on this question is critically important. Thanks, Teresa.
Thanks, Rocky, and I am really sorry, but we're out of time for taking more questions. But we did have one more poll question for you. If you could please stay on the line and answer this poll. If you were to vote today, would you vote yes or no on question 3? Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're unsure. And I'll repeat that question real fast. If you were to vote today, would you vote yes or no on question 3? Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're unsure. I want to thank Colleen Kelly, your president of NVAR this year. She has been working overtime on this issue, talking to the press, approving communications. She is part of the steering committee for the coalition and has put out the weekly broker letters and agent letters to you, asking you to vote no on number 3. Colleen couldn't be with us today, but she is really busy working on promoting no on question 3. Again, if you're still waiting to ask a question, remain on the line, and you will be transferred to a voicemail box where you'll be able to leave a message, and someone will get back to you with an answer. Please make sure to state your name clearly and repeat your phone number or email address to make sure we can reach you. And we're going to close the poll. We also would like you to let us know how we could have made this call better. You can do that by leaving us a voicemail as well. Press 0 on your keypad now, and you'll be transferred to the voicemail box at the end of this call where you can leave some comments on how we could have made this teletown hall conference better. A digital recording of today's call will be available shortly, and we'll post it on the website at www.nvar.org in the Realtor Political Center section of that site. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this call. Early voting is open, so please go vote at your polling place right now today, and I hope this call was useful to you. Thanks, and have a great day.